Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. We're going to have a fun and delicious culinary demo today. We're going to be making energy balls 3 ways, whole food plant-based, of course. And my guest today is Marley McMillen. Please welcome her to the show. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Chef AJ. It's nice to meet you as well. I'm really thrilled to be here.
So you mentioned right before logging on that we have a mutual friend, Kathy Hester. Is she the one that recommended you for the show?
Yes, exactly. In fact, we were talking about lives, and she mentioned you as doing such a great job with the lives, and also, we share the veganism aspect as well. So
Well,
I've really enjoyed getting into your show.
Well, thank you. Speaking of veganism, what brought you to it and when and why?
It's been kind of a journey for me, and I wonder if a lot of people have that same response, that it's a journey. But it started out, I was vegetarian for a long time, and I'll be honest, when I went vegetarian, I kind of was after the cool factor. I knew a couple of people that were vegetarian, and I just thought they were so cool, and I thought, ooh, I want to be cool. But then along the way, I also developed, and this had been a lifelong thing. I had issues with my gut a lot, and I got diagnosed with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. And for me, I don't know, I had kind of been curious about veganism, but I hadn't really gone there yet. And I got diagnosed with IBS, and then they prescribed for me this drug called Zelnorm. I don't know if anybody's heard of that before. And the medicine did make me feel better, but I just felt like there had to be a more natural way to go about it. And so I also had happened to notice that when I had high fat dairy, that my stomach hurt more. And so from there, I just started experimenting with my diet. I first eliminated the high fat, like that super fatty ice cream, that people go to. I think it's custard that people really love. I loved it too, but once I got rid of it, I noticed immediately that I started to feel better. So I know some people that have been on your show, they like, I remember who it was recently that, did something, and 30 days later, it was just so much like they saw all these improvements. For me, it was more of a gradual, like I had clung to these food items in my life a little too much. And so I slowly got rid of them, and, eggs came next, and then I got rid of all dairy. And since I was already vegetarian, I mean, technically at this point I'm vegan. So I really started to feel a difference in my body, and I felt so much better. And I was just so excited about it that I started sharing it on my site. I had a blog at the time. And so I started sharing vegan recipes. I just found such a passion for it. And so then from there, I actually did this Ruby. It's like an online cooking school. And I took the plant-based class and certification. And then I also, I don't know, do you know Fran Costigan?
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she's amazing. And
yeah.
oh, wonderful. And I took her vegan desserts course, which is just amazing. I really learned so much. And I had a feeling you would probably know her. But yeah, I really have just developed such a passion for, all things food related. And I really respect people that are on their own journey. I mean, just because these changes made a difference for me, I wasn't, who knows what it's going to do for somebody else, but I wanted people to know that you could eat vegan, delicious food and be a part of that journey as well. Like start out maybe veganizing some foods that you just have always loved, like mac and cheese or things like that. And then you're on that journey of improved health as well. And it's also better for the environment and, all those things. So yeah, I had no idea at the time though, that it could be a career, that being a food blogger could be something I could do. I had like an MBA and I was a COO. So it's like, it just seemed like way away to think of doing something like that as a career, but it's been a wonderful life change for me. And in fact, I was going to tell you, AJ, that, for me, it's more than just the diet too. It's about lifestyle, because IBS is not just about your diet. It can also, it's kind of related to anxiety, they've proven. And so for me, exercise has been a big part of that. My husband and I walk daily. We do yoga together. I also kind of do a lot of mindfulness practices in my day. Like I journal and try to meditate from time to time, do some deep breathing, things like that. It all really makes a difference. So I'm really happy with these changes. The other thing I was going to tell you is going vegan has done a lot of things for me. Now it's my career. I feel so much better. And then I also met my husband because we were at the same vegan meetup group together. There's a meetup group in Kansas City where vegans get together, and sometimes they go out to dinner. Sometimes they have a home based meal that, everybody brings a dish and shares it. And so that's where I met my husband. So that's pretty exciting. He's smiling at me now.
That really is exciting. So, well, then your husband apparently is vegan then.
Yes, actually, he was even vegan before I was. So, it's really nice to have that compatibility. When you're married to somebody that you share that, a diet like that, it's really nice. It really helps a lot.
Absolutely. So, before you became a food blogger, what was your profession?
I actually worked in the healthcare field. I was working for an organization. I don't have a healthcare background, but I worked for an organization that it's basically a membership association for doctors. And so I worked in that, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was also very healthcare focused and health oriented as well. So I enjoyed it. I think there's some stress that goes along, it was there could be times it was a toxic work environment. And so, that goes along with stress as well. And so being able to work for yourself comes with its own stressors, and you've got to be a very self-motivated person. And my husband and I work together. It's a really good thing that we get along because we spend so much time together.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned dairy, not funny, but I mean, even people that don't want to be vegan, dairy is probably the worst thing for GI, especially people that have problems with their GI health.
Yeah, that is so true. Dairy, I think like I say, it was the very first thing I gave up, and I gave up with the super rich dairy first. And I had a big impact on that, on my, how I felt. I've also toyed with gluten. I don't eat a lot of gluten. I do have some, but I don't eat a lot of it. And I find that makes a big difference. I'm Scottish. My background is Scottish. So, there's probably a history there of, some gluten intolerance. So I've never been formally diagnosed, but that's what I'm finding. I feel a little better when I don't eat too much gluten.
Tell us about your blog.
My blog it's called Namely Marley because my name is Marley, and I love sharing about vegan recipes. And let me tell you, it has been quite a journey. I actually even have a podcast, or I had a podcast where I talk to other food bloggers, because it really, food blogging has turned into its own career path. And it was not a career at the beginning. I think there were people like the Pioneer Woman or people like that were making money and being as food bloggers, but it was very rare for everybody to be making money. And now there's been this gradual shift. And so I've been so passionate about food blogging because, it sounds like everybody, when I tell people I'm a food blogger, they're always like, oh, so fun, but it's very complicated. You have to have all the things. You've got to, be good at the photography. You got to have the technical side. And luckily my husband's a web developer, so he does all the technical stuff on the background. You've got to be good at developing recipes and, and social media. There's so many things that go along with it. And I think sometimes I like it so much because it does tap into all of those, areas. It's very challenging. And so I guess I enjoy a challenge. Yeah.
So I'm looking at your blog. There's so many wonderful looking recipes. Are they all together in a book anywhere?
I do have a book. It's called it's about meal prepping for vegans, and so it's the Everything Vegan Meal Prep Cookbook. And yes, I love meal prepping because, when you've got 1,000 things going on and you're really busy, just knowing that you can go to the fridge or the freezer and pop out something and cook it on a weeknight is great. We don't eat out a lot. It's not as if we're against it. We are some great vegan restaurants here in Kansas City that we love, we go to. But for the most part, we like how, we just like our own food. We really enjoy the things that we make. So mostly I end up cooking at home. So having some things in the freezer, and that's what my book is all about. It's all about like how you can, cook these meals ahead of time and then have them, ready to serve on a moment's notice.
Well, the recipes look beautiful on the blog. You have a vegan ham on there and it looks just like a real ham.
I know, isn't it amazing? Yeah, especially with the pineapple on top. I think that, maybe those two often go together, but yes, the the vegan ham is pretty tasty. And I kind of put those in the field of indulgences. I mean, I would say if you were to come to our house, which we would love, Chef AJ, but if you were at our house on a day-to-day basis, we're eating really, really healthy foods. But we love having those indulgences. And especially when I'm going to, let's say it's Easter weekend and you want to go and you want to show off that to your non-vegan family and friends, how good vegan can be. I love having some recipes like that. Like I have a vegan cheesecake. Again, that's a total indulgence on our end. We don't have it very often, but I love pulling it out and sharing it with people and they can see how delicious vegan can be. That makes me really happy.
What's the most popular recipe on your blog?
Oh, I have a most popular recipe. Wow, that's a good question. Let me think about that because we have so many. Probably the vegan carrot cake is very popular. And I think it's because it's just such a simple recipe. Like it's not highly, I find a lot of people don't want these highly complicated recipes. Now, we do have some recipes on the site that are a little more complicated than others, but we try to really focus on those easy recipes. And that carrot cake is just a great example of that. It's easy to make. It's, got carrots in it. It's delicious.
Great.
Yes.
That is so cool. I love that.
I was going to tell you, I got your book. It's on my iPad right now, but I got your book and I really have resonated with you because I was going to tell you another thing I really love about food blogging is it has forced me to kind of get over. I don't think I would say I had an eating disorder, but I was probably a little too obsessed about food at times. And I noticed in your book, you kind of talk about having a sweet tooth and how that can really be a struggle to get over. And I mean, let me just tell you how bad I have been in my life. Like sometimes I skipped French class on the day that they were bringing in food because I was so afraid of my inability to stop. Like the food is so good. I just want to keep eating it. And, if somebody brought cookies in, I would just eat one after another. And so I feel like the combination of veganism, I also feel like food blogging, I'm just around it so much that I have developed, I like to say I can cohabitate with Oreos now, which is, it's just like a huge testament for me. Like I never could have done that before. Have Oreos in the house and not be going over and grabbing one after the other. And now I'm in that place and it feels really good. I noticed that you say that in your book as well.
It's like freedom,
It's a freedom. It totally is.
No, the bad thing is Oreos are vegan. I kind of wish they weren't,
I know. There's so many foods nowadays that have gone vegan that it's like it used to be that veganism was a great way towards, I would say, maybe weight loss or improved health because there were fewer options. I actually really enjoyed that part. But now you've got to exercise some self-control when you're vegan, and it's good. I think it's healthy.
Absolutely. Let's see. Here's a question in the chat for you from Kathy. She says, what does being Scottish have to do with gluten intolerance?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I don't know this for a fact, but I do think there's a genetic component towards celiac disease. And I think if you were to look at majority of people that have celiac probably come from that Irish, Scottish area of the world. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure it's a bigger group than that now, but maybe that's where the origins of where they were discovering celiac disease came from. So that's my thoughts on that.
Oh, very cool. How do you know Kathy Hester?
I think Kathy and I were in a group together early on discussing food blogging. And then we both discovered that we were vegan. So we started chatting more. And, Kathy she is just a guru on putting yourself out there and doing live video and things like that. And so we've put our heads together a few times. And we were also at a conference together once too. So we got to meet in person, which was wonderful. She is just a gem. She's wonderful.
What's the vegan scene like in Kansas City, Missouri? Is there one?
What is there? Oh yeah, there's a vegan scene for sure. There are several restaurants that are just devoted to vegan food. In fact, there's even a vegan coffee shop called Mud Pie. I highly recommend it. If you come to Kansas City, you should go to Mud Pie coffee shop. It's amazing. And there's, like I said, there's this vegan meetup group. I mean, my husband and I, we don't go as often, we don't even go at all anymore. We used to go a lot, but we have each other now, so we've got the support. But it's wonderful to be able to meet up with other vegans. I mean, we wouldn't have met each other had we not been at that same meetup group together. So that's pretty exciting.
Well,
But yeah, it's a pretty good scene.
Because people are always asking me where to meet a vegan mate, and so meetup, that's a great suggestion.
Yes, check your city and see if they have some meetup groups. And I went to several and never met anybody, and that's perfectly fine. It's not as if I don't personally, I was not going there to meet somebody. Maybe I wanted to meet friends, like have other people that are like-minded. And then Sean and I met, and so that really, it was wonderful. Yes, I enjoyed that a lot.
Do you ever talk about equipment that is helpful in the kitchen in either your book or your blog?
I do have a post called Vegan Essentials where I go into, some of the ingredients that I think are really key. Like, for example, I mean, I really think if you're new to a vegan diet, and honestly, AJ, this is kind of like my target audience is people who have been, especially, if you grew up in the Midwest like me, and you're used to this kind of standard American diet or, that comfort food kind of eating. I really feel like that's who I'm targeting, or people who are new to veganism and really just, feel like they're going to miss out on certain foods. So that's who I target. But anyway, yeah, I do talk about, like, you want to have some nutritional yeast like in your kitchen. It creates that cheesy flavor that we all love, and just things like that. And I believe in there that I talk about the equipment that you should have in your kitchen, but I should double check and make sure. I do think having a good food processor is important. Sean and I have a smoothie every single day, a green smoothie. And so of course for us, the Vitamix is just really important, because we started out with a smaller blender, and I don't think it can handle that churning every single day. It really struggled after, we would get it, and then 2 or 3 months later it would break down and we'd have to get another one. So we thought, okay, we're gonna splurge and get the Vitamix, and it has made all the difference.
Yeah. Do you have my 2 favorite tools, the Instant Pot and the air fryer?
I have an air fryer. I do. And I love the air fryer. I use it all the time. But I don't have an Instapot. Can you believe that? My sister is super into Instapots, so I don't know why I don't have one. I need to try that. Yeah. Do you think I should try it?
Well, I think so. I mean, I'd get an 8-quart though, because people, if you get a small one, you can't do big jobs. If you get a big one, you could do a small job.
Okay, thank you. That's good advice. Get the 8-quart, because you want to be able to do bigger projects in it. Okay.
I mean, like even cooking artichokes, you would think 4 artichokes wouldn't be that big of a deal, but you can't really fit 4 artichokes in a 6-quart or a 3-quart. And so I think the 8-quart's the way to go. Oh,
well, I think you'll find this interesting, AJ, because after the pandemic started, and things were a little bit harder to get. We weren't wanting to go to the grocery store a lot, so we actually started cooking all our beans from scratch. So of course we should have an Instapot that would make that so much faster.
Absolutely. Bailey wanted to come say hi. I love your name, by the way, Marley. And if I ever got another girl dog, I mean, don't take it as an insult, because dogs are like beings to me. I love the name Marley. It's such a pretty name.
It's funny. We have a dog, and we take him to the dog park, and every now and then there'll be a dog named Marley, and so somebody yells Marley, and I go. So it's all good. I used to joke when I grew up in a super, super small town. And when when we would go run around, like we were just feral kids and just running around the neighborhood, and my dad would go out and do this and whistle. And so I would hear a whistle and I'd be like, oh, Dad's calling. So yes, I feel like, I'm really connected with dogs, I guess.
What kind of dog do you have?
He is a puppy mill rescue, and so he's a Turkey, and it's a mix between a Chihuahua and a Yorkie. He's just adorable. His name is Otis, and
Turkey.
Sweetheart.
Well, if he has a chance, we'd love to see him before the show's over. Amy's saying that's a great vegan love story, and Elizabeth says, I want to meet a guy like her husband. Does he have a brother?
No, my husband does not have a brother. He is pretty amazing. I would say finding somebody that loves you for who you are is such a gift in your life. I mean, you really, I have gone through different.
That's what dogs are for.
That's what dogs are for. Yeah, this is true. Dogs and husbands should love you no matter what. And for, through thick and thin and good and bad, but of course that has to go back too, right? You've got to love them the same way. So,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
So Linda wants to know, how did you know to go vegan, and do you have any vegan family members?
Oh my goodness. I have no vegan family members. I am the only one, except for Sean, but on my side of the family, I think they think I'm strange. I know that they do. I mean, they're just, they're salt of the earth Midwest people. And so, but my sister has done such a lovely job, and my mom too. When we have a family dinner, they will try their best to make a vegan meal for me, for us, which is so sweet. But I always bring my own things. So in other words, if we're having a family dinner, I'm saying, don't you worry about, because here's the thing is when, let's say somebody's making a vegan dish for you and they don't quite totally understand veganism, they'll choose that cheese that says it's vegan or says it's vegetarian, that it has lactose in it, or lactose-free cheese or whatever, and it still has dairy in it. So I really would just rather just make it myself. The other thing I've seen, like one time at work, somebody was like, "Oh, look at this black bean soup. You should try this. It's totally vegetarian and vegan." I say, "Oh, would you mind telling me like what kind of broth that you use?" "It's chicken broth." Like they just don't think of that as, a meat thing. I know it sounds so strange, but there's just a mind shift that has to go on. So I oftentimes will say, just let me bring my own food, and you can try it if you'd like. But just to be completely safe, that's what I do. And I forgot the first part of the question. Sorry.
How did you know to go vegan?
How did I know to go vegan? Well, I think I mentioned early on that the vegetarian was completely, I sound like an ego person here, but I really I resonated with this one woman who I knew that was vegetarian, and I really wanted to try that. My dad actually said at one point, he said, when I went vegetarian, he said, "I knew you were going to be vegetarian," because when I was a kid, I had posters on my wall of, like cute baby seals and, cats and things like that. And so I think if anything, if we all check with I even read a study recently that children today don't see meat as, animals as food. I wonder if we all look back in our past, if we loved animals, we didn't, I think there's that connection there that we don't want to eat them. We don't want to hurt those animals. So for me, I think there was that passion for animals. I just absolutely love them. And then going vegan, I think I read, is it Peter Singer that has that book? Yeah, I read his book. And I'll be honest, I think at first I was like, dairy, it doesn't hurt the animal, but why would you have to go vegan? And of course, reading his book made me realize that they are also part of that whole system of, they go through suffering, and they're a part of that whole slaughter and system or whatever. And so that made me realize, okay, there is a purpose to going vegan as well. And so then it was just a matter of like, I knew I had the desire. It was just a matter of like making it happen. And for me, it was really about just letting myself slip, like being okay with taking a step forward and maybe even taking 2 steps back. It was not this linear process for me. It was really pretty jagged, quite a bit. And now I'm to this point. It's amazing, our taste buds, how malleable they are. If you just give it time, they will change. And for example, I hated giving up mozzarella, hated it. Like I wanted pizza so bad. And then a few years after going vegan and just only using vegan cheese on my pizza, I was at a restaurant here in Kansas City that serves vegan pizza. They accidentally put regular cow mozzarella on my pizza, and I could just tell instantly it was rubbery. It was gross. And so, I'm just saying your taste buds change, and you just have to kind of let yourself go through that process, and then you'll get there. And it's well worth it. The rewards are amazing.
I think that the reason that many people can't give up whatever it is because of food addiction, because otherwise, why wouldn't they be able to?
Yes, I saw that in your book, and it's like, yeah, you're calling a spade, right? Like, you even say that, like, I know, an addiction sounds like harsh, but you're right. It's true. It is, if you just let yourself say it, I'm addicted to this. I can't give it up.
Yeah. You mentioned a must-have for people going vegan or what to have in a vegan kitchen. You mentioned nutritional yeast. Do you have a favorite brand or brands?
Oh, you know what? I have, okay, so I don't know, do you all have Sprouts in your area, that grocery store,
Well,
that's a
I mean,
health
I
food
do.
chain?
I do. I can't vouch for everybody watching, but I definitely have Sprouts.
We have been on a mission to try to reduce our single-use plastic. And again, that's a whole other journey as well. And so anyway, I love Sprouts because they have nutritional yeast in the bulk food section. And so we bought a few of those reusable bulk bags, that you can just refill. And that's what we use that for nutritional yeast. And it's just fine. I know there may be some brands that might have different flavors, but that's what we like. Actually, they actually even have a vegan parm substitute now in their bulk section. So that's kind of nice.
Very cool. Very cool. I
Yeah.
just like doing a taste test with a bunch of them to see if there really is a difference, because most people aren't using nutritional yeast by itself. It's part of a recipe. So I'm wondering, is it that big of a deal if what the brand is?
That is a good idea. I might have to do that. I might have to buy several brands and just see if there's a difference between them.
I was thinking of doing that on a video, a blind taste test to answer this once and for all. Take like the 5 top brands. Here's Karen wants to know if you've ever eaten at Gigi's Vegan and Wellness Cafe.
I'm not familiar. Is that in Kansas City, you think?
Karen, is that in Kansas City? And we're talking Kansas City, Missouri. Let us know. And here's a fun question from Cheryl. What are the benefits of being a blogger other than sharing your passion?
What are the benefits of being a blogger? Well, I do think it makes you stay very organized. There is a sort of like, let me say this the right way. Like I journal, and in some ways that can come through on it's a form of self-expression. In fact, I heard somebody say once that entrepreneurialism is that the right way to say it? Entrepreneurialism is a form of a self journey. Like it's a voyage of self-discovery. That's what they said, a voyage of self-discovery. So I think anything that you do, that it doesn't have to be a blog, it could be any kind of journey that you go on that you're passionate about. Like maybe it's writing a book, or maybe whatever you choose to do. It is a form of self-expression, and then also a voyage of just knowing yourself better. And I think that's just priceless. I mean, I have learned so much about myself, and to be able to express that in ways is pretty amazing as well.
Nice. I Googled Gigi's Wellness Cafe, and it says it's at 1103 Westport Road, Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes. Well, I go to Westport all the time, so I know where that's at. I just, there's sometimes restaurants popping up left and right, and I love to go support vegan restaurants. So I'm going to put that on my list, and we'll be going there. Thank you.
Very good.
For that recommendation.
And, Karen wants to know, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a town called Buckner, Missouri. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's a town. When I grew up there, it was 1,000 people, very small. I mean, when you meet people from other countries and you say you're from a small town, and then when you tell them 1,000 people, that's like, whoa, that's really small. Very rural. It's one of those towns, if you blink, you're going to miss it. But I truly loved it because, as like I say, I mean, we were feral. You just run around, play with the other kids, or just ride your bike forever. It's a great way to grow up, to be honest.
I wonder if there's any vegans in that town now.
I would be surprised, because I think, like I say, I mean, I think it may be known for being a little bit, I wouldn't want to say redneck, but there's definitely that rural component, and I don't see. In fact, if anything, when I'm in that area, when I'm talking to people, they didn't even know how to pronounce vegan. They'd call it vegan.
Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. Amy made a comment that people don't realize that food can be addicting, and they just blame themselves for not having willpower. And I think dairy is probably the most addictive.
Oh, so true. Dairy is very addictive. And I think you're so drawn to it. Like you feel like if you give it up, you're never going to get to experience that texture, that flavor again. But I do think there's so many vegan products, like soy milk or almond milk, whatever you choose. That is a great example, because once your taste buds change, you don't really miss it anymore. In fact, if I've had a product that has dairy in it today, it would taste really sour to me and I wouldn't enjoy it. So I'm just saying your taste buds are so malleable. If you give them a chance, they will change.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, I just saw what did I saw? Oh yeah, here's a question from Tiffany. Do you have any recommendations for vegan cheese?
Oh yeah, vegan cheese. Yes. I mean, that's a great question because you can make your own vegan cheese based on nuts. And that's completely, in fact, I have a recipe on the site for nacho cheese that's made completely out of cashews, some nutritional yeast flakes. I throw in some chili powder. There's so many great cheeses that you can make. I just want you to know that. But I also respect that sometimes you just want, that package. And so we obviously choose is it Daya or Daya? I think I've heard them say that it's Daya, not Daya, but I kind of have that habit of saying Daya. So we will put that on our vegan pizza. Another one is Follow Your Heart. It's a really good one that it melts really nicely. And we like to, when we have vegan pizza, we definitely do that. But that said, I have been really on a bent lately of like, let me try making some vegan mozzarella and making it at home based off of nuts and just having some alternatives. Making your own vegan parm is you can actually just make your pizza and just load it with all the great veggies. I like to add a little bit of whole wheat flour to my crust so that it's got that crispiness to it, but it's also, got some health benefits to it. And then put all the veggies on it and sprinkle some vegan parm, which you can make out of nuts. And that will give you that, cheesy flavor. It won't have the same melt like, a traditional pizza has, but it works.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, people are getting real personal here. What were your symptoms with IBS, asked Elizabeth? I like when you're recovered, do I still say I have IBS, even though I'm not experiencing it now because I had it once as a diagnosis, but I have it seems like I'm geared towards that if I don't eat properly.
Yes, I am too. And in fact, like I say, it is connected to anxiety. So there can be certain events that come up in my life. If I feel extremely anxious over, I will have my symptoms come up again. I know that, this sounds, I hate to, do we really want to get this personal? There's two forms.
My biggest symptoms were pain and bloating. Those were mine.
Yeah. Yes, me too. Oh, so I would be in so much pain. I could hardly even sit down. And I always called it stomach pain, but it was really more like lower intestine pain. And I would just be it was really, really bad. So I think I actually look at it as a gift though, because it's like so often we go through life and we just don't even listen to our bodies. It's like we force our bodies to go through all these things, but every now and then our body speaks up and says, pay attention. This is bothering me. I think I like to say food is noise. And so I actually have experimented with fasting. I do intermittent fasting. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Walter Longo, but he has that, it's like a 5-day fasting program that you can use that actually has some food involved in it. It's all plant-based. And I've done that a couple of times because I feel like those things kind of help keep me regulated. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Nice. Tiffany says, I struggle with eating when I travel. Any recommendations?
Yes, I always, when I travel, I bring things with me. I mean, you could look at it two different ways. I can't think of the name of the guy. I can point out to you an interview of this really well-known guy. Anyway, Ezra Klein, I think is his name. And he said that when he travels, he would, he would like relax a little bit. Like you're traveling, maybe you just relax and not make it. So I'm just saying you have options. For me, I usually pack snacks. Like Sean and I actually, when we fly together, we'll make sandwiches and get on the plane and eat, get out our lunch or whatever it is and eat you could also use it as a time for fasting. It's not as if we need food all the time. So if you're on a travel day, you can just enjoy your body with no food. That's fine too. But I love to check out vegan restaurants wherever we go. Like Sean's parents live in Phoenix. And sometimes when we go there, they have a great restaurant called Green. It's like vegan comfort food. It's really good. And, so it's like, it's a great, happycow.com is a great way to check out the vegan restaurants wherever you're going. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah. Regarding the restaurant you haven't gone to yet, maybe you'll go today. There's a comment from Karen that said that Gigi, who I'm guessing is the proprietor, was diagnosed with colon cancer and healed herself through a whole food, plant-based raw food diet.
Wow. That is amazing. Oh, I just, when I hear things like that, I mean, gosh, it's just amazing. Just the power of our diet. I don't know. Sorry. Thank you for sharing that. I want to check her out.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll introduce myself when I go see her.
Yeah, you could say you heard about her on Chef AJ's show and ask her if she wants to be on the show. Seriously.
I will totally do that.
I don't know her, and it would be better if you contacted her. That would be great.
I will do that. Yes. And what a great name, Gigi. I mean, don't you just love the way that rolls off the tongue? It's beautiful.
Gigi. I think of the movie Gigi. Yes.
Yes.
Here's a question from Lisa. What is the best salad dressing if you're tired of vinegars?
Well, okay. So my all-time favorite salad dressing, and Sean is probably nodding his head back here because I love salads. I have, especially in the summertime, I have one every single day. And my favorite dressing is I just get vegan yogurt. And one of my favorites is called Forager. I like it so much because it's just plain yogurt. It's like a plain, it doesn't have sweetener in it. It's not. And that's what I'm after is like this, just plain. So I dress it up all different kinds of ways. I like to add a little bit of mustard to it. I might add a little bit of, I like white wine vinegar to go in my salad dressings because it's so mellow. Whereas I feel like some vinegars, when you add it to a vegan yogurt, the flavor is going to be too strong. So white wine vinegar is great. Add a little nutritional yeast flakes and then just like all the herbs, like I love dill in that mixture, a little bit of garlic powder. It's just delicious and it's great on a salad. And you could do that same vegan ranch and vegan yogurt and turn it into a ranch flavor by adding just the right herbs. It's amazing. That's what I do. But you can also do that with cashews as well if you want a richer, like yogurt obviously is, it's a lighter version, which I love, but you can soak some cashews and create a thick cashew base by adding water. And obviously you'd want to add some lemon juice to that to create like a vegan cashew cream. And then from that, you can transform that into a thicker ranch if you want that kind of full fat flavor of dressing.
I love foragers. I use the unsweetened cashew.
Me too. That's exactly the kind I use. Yes.
Yeah, they have it at Sprouts and Whole Foods as well. I think that's a really good brand.
I will tell you that lately I have taken to like my favorite dessert of the moment right now is we've got this great big thing of blueberries and I just throw blueberries in a bowl, maybe some grapes, slice up a banana, and then put some of that yogurt, that cashew unsweetened yogurt over the top because the mixture of it's got kind of a tart sour flavor to it. The mixture of that with the sweet berries. Oh, it's so good. That's my favorite dessert right now.
Mariana's also asking about good salad dressings besides vinegars and can't eat nuts because of allergies. So she wouldn't be able to have the foragers and cashew. But they make oat yogurt and they make soy yogurt and they make it all kinds of things. But I always tell people like hummus can be dressing. You could just thin it out.
I love that. That is a great point. Yes. Hummus thin it out. Like you say, put a little bit of, of that white wine vinegar or whatever kind of vinegar you can tolerate, or lemon juice.
Oh my gosh. Even water, yeah, but totally.
I'm trying to think of his name. Is it, Joel Fuhrman, is it Fuhrman or Furman? Anyway, he talks about using salsa as a dressing and it is really very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially pico de gallo salsa.
Oh yes, all those. And I love cilantro. My husband's like on the fence about it, but I love cilantro. So adding all those flavors, it's so delicious. It's really good.
You're going to make something for us today, aren't you?
I am going to make something for you too. Yes. And one of the things I wanted to talk with you about regarding this recipe, it's energy bites or energy balls, whatever you want to call them. This has also been a part of my recovery of maybe disordered eating on some level, because these are so rich and filling that, you can't eat very much of. I mean, you can go ahead and eat more than one if you want, but I will tell you, when I eat more than one, I'm full the rest of the day. So forget dinner. So that's what I love. It's like, it has really taught me portion control, and I love this recipe, and I can't wait to share it with you all. I'm going to share it with you 3 ways. So it's one base recipe, and then we're going to adapt it 3 ways. Pretty exciting.
Well, I think desserts or food is made out of food. You aren't triggered to overeat as much as when it's made out of things like sugar and flour.
I think you're right. I think you're so right on that. Yes, because it's got that whole food. It's got the fiber. It's got all those nutrients. I mean, sometimes maybe we're overeating just because we're so, are lacking of nutrients. And so a recipe like this will get you all the nutrients you need. So here we go. We are down. We are ready. So this recipe starts with oats. I use rolled oats. I think they give the best texture. People always ask, can you use instant oats? You can, but you have to use more of them, because instant oats have been, they've been processed a little bit more, so they're finer. But rolled oats are great. Put them right there in the food processor. To that, we're going to add some dates. Now, these are medjool dates. And what I have done, you want to make sure that your dates, let me see if you can see this, that they're plump and soft. If they're not, what I did before, these were a little bit firm. So what I did is I just stripped them with water. You don't want to add a lot of water to them. And then I just put a lid on them, and then that softened them up just perfectly. So I wanted to show you, AJ, you may already know about this really fun trick. I don't know if you've seen this, but you got to pit all these dates, because those pits are really firm and they will mess with your food processor. But what I do is you can just look, you don't have to have any tool. You just tear it open, you take the pit out, and boom, you're done. But if you don't want to do that, because your hands do get kind of sticky, you just, I'm using, this is actually a chopstick that has kind of a blunt end, and you just stick it in one end. You can kind of feel that pit in there, and then you just push it, and that pit just comes right out. Isn't that so cool?
That is very cool.
Yes. So that's what you do. You just start with these dates, and you just, we're here. All we're doing here is we're just taking the pits out. And I use about 10. This is a very rich recipe, but based on the number that you use or the size that you make them, you can make them a little bit smaller if you think this is a little bit too rich for you. But it comes together really fast, and it's really delicious. The dates add natural sweetness. And I noticed in your book, AJ, that you talk a lot about dates as a great alternative to processed sugar.
Absolutely. I think they're much better than eating sugar. And I don't think there's anything you can't do with dates that you could do with sugar.
I completely agree. They work so you could even bake with them.
Yes, you can. Date syrup, date paste, date sugar.
So this is one of the things I love about this recipe is it's refined sugar free, and you can add chocolate chips. And if you did that at that point, depending on what kind of sugars in your chocolate chips. But here, I'm going to put this lid on, and now I'm going to just process this. So my goal here is just to break down these dates that, are they're still kind of big and chunky. So I'm just going to do just a few more seconds. This is just about right. It's just about perfect. So to that, I'm going to add whole half a cup of, this is ground flaxseed. You can use ground chia seeds. That works fine. Some people find the flaxseed, the flavor, to be a little strong. And if that's you, maybe you start out with a quarter cup, and then, or maybe you start with a third cup, and you can gradually increase it. But we love our omega-3s, so flax and chia are just great with that. I'm also going to add a little bit of these are coconut flakes, and I just buy the cheap kind. They're not the super thin, but we're going to process this anyway, so they'll get processed a little bit as we go. So we're just going to do this some more. now we've got this process. It's almost like a flour. It's just, the dates are kind of adding a little bit to it, but to that, I'm going to add some peanut butter. So let me grab a spatula really fast, and we're going to add, this is a half a cup of peanut butter. You can also use almond butter. If you have problems with nuts, you can use a seed butter that works just fine. But the thing about the peanut butter or whatever nut butter you're using is it kind of creates that right consistency that we're going for. Okay, I mean, this is just basically perfect. This is done. But for this particular recipe, we're going to make this into what I call carrot cake energy bites. So I'm going to add this is ground cinnamon and a little bit of pumpkin pie spice. I'm going to pour that in there. I also have a little bit of vanilla because, vanilla makes everything better.
You like, and what vanilla do you use? Because I love vanilla powder. That's my favorite.
Oh, I have seen you mention that on your show, and I have not ever tried that. Where do you find that at?
Mostly Amazon is where I've seen it.
Okay, and it's vanilla powder.
Yeah, vanilla bean powder. You don't want to get one with like things in it because sometimes it actually has sugar in it.
Oh, okay. I'm going to check that out. That sounds amazing. I can't wait to try it. So now I'm going to add just a few carrots. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to make carrot cake energy balls. So I'm just going to process this a little bit more. And sometimes those carrots don't want to process, so you have to kind of get in there and stir it up a little bit. And that's looking really good. I don't know if you can see in there, but it's looking good. It's got little chunks of carrots throughout. And then I always like to add just a little bit of raisins because I think that, contributes to the flavor. And I will go ahead and process that a little bit more. There you go. This is it. This is done. These are carrot cake energy balls. So what I do is I, get out this cookie scoop because I like to have them all be kind of equal in size. And I just use that to make them into balls. These are soft and tender. You may not be able to tell that, and I roll them up a little bit because, we eat with our eyes. We want things to look good. You can even press in a couple of raisins or something. These are too big, but, you can press those into the sides. Sometimes I'll roll it in a little bit of coconut to add that some really, beautiful look to it on the outside. Probably the most time you spend on this recipe is just rolling the balls, but these are really delicious. And then I was going to show you, this is one way to make it, but I pre-made just the plain batter. And I wanted to show you that this is without the carrots. You can just add chocolate chips. So I'm going to show you what I do is I add a little bit of coconut extract. I don't know if you ever used to eat no-bake cookies, but when I do this, I add just a little bit of coconut extract because it's very strong. And I'll stir in some chocolate chips. And this will taste so much like those no-bake cookies that you used to eat when you were growing up. And, when you're in the summer, when you don't feel like bacon, turn the oven on.
Couple of questions about the recipe,
okay.
if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Kathy said, do you think you could use a Vitamix? But I find Vitamixes without liquid don't always work as well.
I agree that it's, I think you really would want to use a food processor because it's going to really churn it up. I guess you could use the Vitamix to break down the dates. And once you had those dates broken down and the oats, you probably could just stir everything else. Here it is with the chocolate chips. Pretty nice. The other thing I wanted to show you, I have one more version. So this is the third version. Feel free to jump in if there are more people with more questions. I'm happy to stop. You can just do them plain. And like I say, almond butter is another alternative. It will change the flavor. Some other things that I wanted to tell you that you could use is if you want to give it more of a, almost like a nutty flavor, you can add some maca powder. Sometimes I will add some mushroom powder to it as well to kind of give it, a little nutritional boost. But when you do just the plain, you could roll them in cocoa powder, and they just look almost like a bonbon or something. They're so delicious. I have also rolled them in, sesame seeds are really nice, and they look just really pretty. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So simple and just delicious. Another thing, I don't know if you've ever used this stuff, this hibiscus powder.
No, but that would be a beautiful. And do you ever put them in like little candy papers? Guys, if you're watching on Facebook, hop on over to YouTube. That's where the recipes are always posted in the show notes. Show notes is what is directly below the video. Pat is saying, can you add sprouted rolled oats? I don't see why not.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Oh, yeah. As long as it's, you wouldn't want to use, as long as it's rolled oats, it'll be fine. This is with it dipped in the red fuchsia hibiscus powder. It's, they almost look like red velvet bites. Very nice.
That's so cool. Everything tastes better in purple.
So true. So true. Yes. And like I say, you can also roll them in flaked coconuts. I do process the coconut. If I'm going to roll the energy balls in coconut, then I will process that a little bit, because I don't, you don't want these great big flakes of coconut on top of them, but they look really beautiful. They're delicious. But I will say my favorite one, and I would say Sean is a testament of this too, would be the ones with the chocolate chips. Do you want to see me take a bite?
If you want.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm always happy to eat an energy ball. So
take one for the team, Marley.
I'm taking one for the team. That is so good. They're soft and chewy, but there's also just the best flavor. I recommend them, and we have them. I'll be honest with you, we probably have this in our house every day, because after lunch you're kind of craving a little bit of something sweet. This curbs my sweet tooth totally. You can vary the size, make it a little bit smaller. If you're worried about calories, I totally understand that. I'm in that boat. My husband, I call him the carbonator, because he can eat all the things and he stays nice and slim. I'm so happy for you. I'm happy for you, honey. I really am.
We married the same guy, the carbonator. I love those. No, you don't bake these, right? These are completely uncooked dessert.
10 things I love about energy balls. They're refined sugar free. They're gluten free. No added salt unless you add something that has salt in it. Oven free. Don't you love that? It's perfect in the summer. They're easy to make. They're freezer friendly. Can you believe this? I make a big batch. You can make a big batch and freeze them. They come out just fine. No change in their texture at all. Whole foods. This is all whole foods. Oats, dates, flax. As vegans, I think it's really important to pay attention to our omega-3s, and flax and chia are those things that help our bodies produce omega-3s. They're so filling, as I mentioned to you before, and they're party friendly. I can't tell you, people love these. Now, if I'm serving these for a party, I'm probably going to do more like a third cup of the flax, because like I say, it does have a flavor and some people are kind of put off. So I will reduce the flax a little bit, but people love them. I couldn't believe how I served them at a party, and I actually did this variety so that they looked really attractive and beautiful, and people just flocked to them. They just loved them. So it was nice.
There's a question what the purple powder tastes like.
The purple powder has kind of, it's kind of I would say it's citrusy. So I love that though. There's a citrusy flavor to it and a little bit tangy, but it really pairs beautifully with the sweetness of the dates. I really enjoy it. Good question.
That's so cool. What are you making for dinner tonight? Do you do anything special for Easter or Passover?
No, we don't do any of that, but I'm probably going to make I really love lentils, and I'm probably going to make a lentil loaf, because I like making things that we can enjoy for dinner, and then we can have it all week long too. Like it's good on a sandwich, things like that.
That's so cool. Hey, so if you don't mind, as soon as the show's over, I'd like you to drive over to Gigi's Wellness Cafe, introduce yourself, get her
I
contact
will.
information for me because I can't seem to find it. Maybe she's on Instagram and I haven't, I'm putting the right name in.
I will find her for you, and I will enjoy eating there too.
I was looking on your blog and you have a recipe for balsamic glazed carrots, which leads me to believe maybe you are a fan of balsamic vinegar and you're going to get 2 free bottles in the flavor of your choice from a company called California Balsamic, which you may or may not be familiar with.
I love balsamic vinegar. Oh my gosh, it's just that's another tip I got from Joel Fuhrman is that, putting flavored vinegars on, you can put it on baked potatoes, you can put it on vegetables. It's amazing. I love that stuff.
Okay, well,
I'm excited.
you're just a bundle of energy and you're just a lot of fun. What can I tell you?
You are too.
Your name is Marley.
My name is Marley. That's right.
That's good. Let's see. Oh, Pat's saying you could probably take what you made and press it into a crust for a raw dessert. Why not?
I absolutely would recommend doing that. Yes. And put like a, raw filling in the middle. Oh, very good. Very tasty. Yes. Great idea.
Yeah. And you can buy those, what you made. I've seen them in stores, but like they're like $10 for like 4 balls when you could just make them yourself.
Make them yourself. And a lot of times you'll find hidden ingredients in those. I totally agree. Like I've even been walking through Costco and I can see that they have those, but they have sugar in them and that's fine. Whatever. I just think, why not make it yourself? You save plastic bags too. And you get a whole lot more for the same money.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. It was so fun having you on the show.
I have really enjoyed this tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow just a bit earlier at 9 a.m. Pacific time because it is a holiday. We wish everyone a happy Easter and Passover if you celebrate. We have Elspeth Feldman, the Speedy Vegan, going to be making a vegan brunch. This is where your ham would have been perfect that you have. Your vegan ham would have been perfect for tomorrow.
That's true. That's perfect for tomorrow. Exactly. Yes. Maybe I'll have to make that instead.
If I had known about it, I would have asked you to make that on the show. I didn't even know such a thing exists. So, but anyway, maybe next year.
Maybe next time. Yes. I like it.
Take care, Marley.